You want to travel the world, retire early, start your own charity? You want to fly business class everywhere? You can start by eliminating the words, I can't afford it, from your vocabulary and start asking yourself, how can I afford it instead? What is up, everyone? It's your girl Rose. Welcome back to my channel. When I started this whole money journey, I was in such a bad place. $100,000 in debt, a very low level of financial literacy, and so many limiting beliefs about money standing in my way. It's really hard to convey what a low place I started out from, financially and emotionally. So that was almost 10 years ago, but things did change. Because in 2020, I became debt-free, and in 2021, I became a self-made millionaire. My financial situation changed so much, seemingly overnight, but when I reflected on how it all happened, I realized it was actually a result of seeds planted all along the way. Habits that I formed, tiny mindset shifts that I made. Nothing happens overnight. The numbers in your bank account are just the tip of the iceberg because so much goes on under the surface. Habits, mindset, the stories you have about money, I truly believe that is 99% of the heavy lifting. And so in this video, I want to share 5 millionaire habits to consider adopting this year. There's just something about a brand new year that helps us let go of baggage, forgive yourself, and get a fresh start. At the same time, there's no need to wait to start making changes, right? Plant the seeds now, and you'll surprise yourself how different your finances look next year. So with that, let's get into the video. The first millionaire habit to adopt is to stop saying the words, I can't afford it. Whenever you encounter something that's out of your budget, don't say, I can't afford it. Just eliminate that phrase right now. Instead, start asking yourself, how can I afford it? You don't need to know the answer, but by simply asking, how can I afford it? You're suggesting to your brain that a way exists and that all your brain has to do is find it. This is a trick from NLP or neuro-linguistic programming that is beyond powerful. Asking this question changed my life. When I was 18, I took a gap year before college to backpack around the world, and it was such an amazing time. I remember sitting on the beach in Kenya one day, watching the sunrise and feeling the sand between my toes, and I was just so profoundly moved by the beauty of the moment. And all of a sudden, I had this thought, isn't this what life should be about? I decided right then and there that this is what life should be about, and I would find a way to create that life. So I traveled a lot during that gap year, but obviously it wasn't sustainable since I was living off savings, and I wanted to find a way to make that into my lifestyle. So when I entered college, I was always thinking in the back of my mind, how can I afford this? How can I afford to make travel and freedom my lifestyle? This question influenced everything. The mentors that I sought out, books that I read, the career opportunities that I considered. A lot of times I would feel kind of like an imposter, like who am I to want more? Especially if you come from a family of immigrants like me, we came to the US from Korea with almost nothing. It's not really about travel, freedom, and getting rich. It's more about survival and sacrifice and duty. So it definitely felt very uncomfortable to start thinking this way, but that's what it takes. Changing your physical financial reality is uncomfortable. But asking questions that make you feel uncomfortable, that you don't know the answer to, is a really good habit to adopt. It forces you to think in new ways and just change your reality. You want to travel the world, retire early, start your own charity? You want to fly business class everywhere? You can start by eliminating the words, I can't afford it, from your vocabulary and start asking yourself, how can I afford it instead? The next habit on this list is to develop a bias towards action versus thought. If there's one thing I noticed about people who seem to be in the same place year after year, it's that they have a tendency to overanalyze versus just doing the damn thing. It's great to think about investing for your future and think about starting that business, but what's really gonna make a difference 10 years from now is whether you actually did it or not. Even if it feels scary, at some point you become acutely aware that the result of not taking action will be more painful than whatever might happen if you do take action. So to tell you a quick little story, I was living in New York City and I had these dreams of owning some real estate. Well, you know how expensive things are in New York, and your girl was broke. I'd read all these books about how to buy rental properties and create passive cash flow, but Even though I didn't have any money, I just started calling a bunch of real estate brokers and had them show me some properties. Long story short, all that led to me getting my next job with a real estate investor. And I ended up adding so much value to his business that he eventually gave me sweat equity in 2 of his deals. I love telling that story because by taking action, even though I didn't feel ready, no money, no experience, I ended up with a tiny percentage of ownership in these valuable New York City rental properties. So whenever possible, take whatever you're thinking about doing and try to find a way to turn it into one concrete, tiny action step, because you never know where it's gonna lead you. Think low risk micro actions that will move you forward, but won't end up with huge consequences if that action doesn't work out. Of course, it's good to think things through and do your research, but there is a balance between doing versus just getting ready to get ready. In my experience, successful people have a tendency to not view failure as failure. They view it more as part of the process. In other words, they just fail forward. We live in a fast-moving world. Opportunities come and go quickly. So think about how you can also start developing a bias towards action. Next up is Millionaire Habit number 3, which is to choose your friends wisely. I love this quote from Tim Ferriss. You are the average of the 5 people you associate with most. So do not underestimate the effects of your pessimistic, unambitious, or disorganized friends. If someone isn't making you stronger, they're making you weaker. Right now, think about the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Has spending time with them been good for your finances or bad for your finances? Are they go-getters, or are they the type of people that just complain about how hard everything is, how expensive everything is, and just go out drinking every weekend instead of actually building something? As harsh as it sounds, if you want to become rich, you need to cut people like that out of your life. Many years ago, I was reading this book about a self-made Brazilian billionaire, and I was going on and on about it to someone at work because I really admired this guy, and my colleague just cuts me off and he goes,
"Well, he came from a rich family."
What he really meant to say was, I'm not from a rich family, which is why I'm never gonna do what it takes to be rich, so there's my excuse. Needless to say, I became very cordial with him after that. Whenever I meet someone new, in the back of my mind, I'm always asking myself, what are this person's money beliefs, and are those beliefs that I wanna hang around? If they have disempowering beliefs, you can still listen and nod and just consciously make that distinction in your mind. That's your reality. But I choose to see a more positive version of reality. So detoxing from people who hold you back is one side of it. The other side of it is to start hanging out with people who inspire you to be better. And by the way, this could mean majorly going out of your comfort zone. A couple of years ago, I was invited on this impromptu girls trip to Tulum. And every single girl in the group was this badass entrepreneur just doing really cool things in the world. And I felt so out of my league. The typical normal topic of conversation over chips and guacamole and cocktails was, of course, boy talk, but also raising capital, starting a VC fund, selling a company for $100 million exit. These were all just like day in the life topics of conversation on this trip. The whole time I was just like, wow, I am not like these women, but I want to be. It was this huge motivational kick in the ass. Every time I wanted to hide under a rock instead of taking action on my dreams, I'd remember how badly I wanted to belong to that group of amazing women. You can't be what you can't see, right? Spending time with the right people will motivate and inspire you like you would not believe. So make it a habit to curate your inner circle. Make sure you're spending most of your time with people who have achieved the financial success that you want for yourself, or at least are on that path. All right, next up is habit number 4, which is to say no to most things. How many times have you said yes to a trip or a social thing that you were on the fence about and then you just regretted it? In 2022, start becoming best friends with the word no. The word no is actually a complete sentence in and of itself, so just get used to saying it. You're the manager of your time, your priorities, and where you want to go in life. If you have a dream, no one else is gonna make it happen for you but you. So don't feel bad about saying no when you're asked to do something that doesn't align with your goals. Now, if you're a recovering people pleaser like me, and you have a really hard time saying no, try practicing different ways of saying no until it becomes second nature to you. Most of the time when you have to say no, you're truly flattered and honored that someone considered you, so you can still be nice while still being a firm no. And you don't need to offer any explanations. Otherwise, they might try to talk you out of it. Like I said, no is a complete sentence. When I started my debt-free journey, it was really hard for me to say no to invites out, dinners out. I felt a lot of FOMO and guilt, but after a while, it started to feel really good because I realized that saying no to a $100 night out in New York City meant I was saying yes to my goal of becoming debt-free. That was a really helpful mindset shift for me. Your no always means a yes to something else. And it feels good to say yes to yourself. What you say yes or no to reflects your priorities, and your finances will reflect those priorities. Millionaire habit number 5 to adopt is to read a chapter a day. If I seem to know a lot about money, it's because I read a ton. Right now, I'm reading a book called Retire Young, Retire Rich by Robert Kiyosaki. I'm actually rereading this because I first read it in college, and 10 years later, it's still just as hard-hitting, like full of wisdom bombs, truth bombs. Even if, like me, you didn't grow up around rich people, you can still find your financial role models from books. That is why I love reading books by financially successful people. It's like they're sitting right there next to you, sharing all their wisdom with you. We live in a world of TikToks and free information on social media and online, but when you sit down with a book, you're not distracted by ads and all these notifications. You can really focus and go deep with a book, and you just won't get that online. You guys, no excuses. Instead of watching Netflix, you can read a book. If you have a hard time getting through books, here are some tips that will help you read more. The first tip is to listen to audiobooks. This is how I get most of my reading in. Chances are you have time already in your day where you can sneak in an audiobook, like when you're doing dishes, cooking, walking the dog. It's great. Another tip is to make reading a habit. Once something becomes a habit, it actually becomes harder to not do it. So turn reading into a habit by choosing a time and a place to read a chapter or a few pages every single day, and at some point, it'll just become second nature. Another tip is to keep a reading list about books that you are excited about, whether it's about personal finance, how to start your own farm, how to be a better person, how to improve your relationships, how to cook better. There is a book for all of your interests. So if you create a list of books that you're excited to read about, that will make it more likely that you'll make time for it. If you need a place to start building your reading list, check out this playlist right here. It's all my book recommendations on personal finance and investing. By installing these tiny mindset shifts and empowering money habits, you can make some big things happen in your life. We are entering a brand new year and a fresh start, so commit to improving your finances this year, and let's make 22 our best year yet. That's it for this video. Happy New Year, guys. I love you all so much. Wishing you and your family all the health, wealth, happiness, and love. I'll see you next week in the new year, same time, same place. Bye.